and welcome to the Raw Preview. We are the Dudley Boys of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilbourn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to look ahead to tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review Raw, but also SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete with the because, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick, look ahead to Raw tonight and all the fallout from the Royal Rumble.
And there's loads. We're going to talk in a lot of detail this afternoon in our live Royal Rumble review. I'm looking forward to that. But to try and avoid some of the stuff we're going to talk about there,
yes,
the stuff I am the most excited about for Raw, and not just this Raw, the SmackDown and everything leading up to Elimination Chamber, I guess, is ultimately what I thought, slight spoiler, the Rumble was super effective at. What I was asking for last week was to benefit from all the stories you've told so that, yes, you get one win at a book and get excited about, but you get 7 or 8 big-time losers, as in losers that are winners in their own right. Like, what are they doing between now and Elimination Chamber? How does that feed into WrestleMania? It did a very effective job at giving you several answers from this big show, but keeping all those balls in the air, keeping all those questions around so many of the big names and how defeating that match, because it is a match with a winner and 29 losers, defeating that match ultimately impacts you and how the result has mattered. And I do feel that going into this Raw, like you want, if it was like a night of individual promos, like, you know, when AEW does the so-and-so speak, so-and-so, I could watch that with like 10 of the eliminated wrestlers tonight. And in that respect, it's like, it's a Fallout episode that I actually want to see the Fallout for.
It's fascinating, isn't it, going
Yes, it is. I'm honestly quite shocked. It's my level of interest ahead of this Raw tonight. We was talking at length about the permutations of WrestleMania and how this year felt different. Last year was probably the perfect ideal of a WrestleMania build in that you kind of know where it's going. You hope it's going in that direction, and you've got that after The Rock was The Rock, and then that sad week. Once all that was resolved and you had an idea of, right, okay, well, Cody's probably going to beat Roman, and that sets up a match with Cody and The Rock after The Rock pins Cody. And you'd know how it's going to shake, but it's, can they deliver that moment brilliantly? Spoiler alert, they did. You know what's going to happen, but that's a good thing, because what you know is going to happen, or you strongly suspect is going to happen, is what makes all the goddamn sense in the world and what you really, really want to happen. This is totally different in that there were, at least two highly likely WrestleMania cards, and that was after you have to do the card The Rock wants to do, or, all right, do what you want because The Rock's not here. Right, The Rock's not here, so do the card you want. They've completely thrown that for a loop as well. Some very, very bold booking that, spoiler alert, I'm not going to be too much of a miserable bastard about. I have absolutely no idea where this goes. It's all very politically fascinating. My thing, though, is that it's so... that result happened on Saturday night, which I could not believe. That I'm starting to think, is it some grand plan to do something really, really, really interesting for WrestleMania? Or is this well-oiled machine not so oiled anymore?
Yeah, it's insane to think that, because I agree with what you said there, Sidge. Like, we went in, and I think, you know, most of us had Punk picked, and then it was like, if it was not Punk, it's Cena. If it's not Cena, it's probably Roman. And then Seth was even speculated on as well. Like, Jey Uso is probably 5th, 6th, 7th in that list of names you expect to win the Men's Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair was number 1, and there was no one even close. There wasn't even 2, 3, 4, or 5 in that list. We'll talk about her in a second. But now that Jey Uso's got this, their theories are running wild. Like, I saw some people, and I had to go through it myself watching the Rumble, because I went, right, down to the final 6. I was like, it's probably Punk. Then Punk gets chucked out by Logan Paul whilst chucking out, or immediately after chucking out Roman and Seth, obviously. And you're like, your brain has to reset, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're giving it to Cena. They're doing the Cena thing. And then, obviously, Jey wins, and everyone's head explodes. We talked about in the news this morning, this backlash to Jey Uso. I think that's possibly, as Andy said, more bubble stuff than people possibly realise. Because look at the reactions in the arena, look at the reactions from most people who aren't so deep in the weeds online. But as a result of that, the theories are running wild about like maybe I saw someone say maybe Punk's favor is getting Heyman to get Jey to like give him his title shot. I was like, I don't think that line of thinking really works, but it's just so up in the air. And I think we went into the Rumble saying how unpredictable it's going to be, and we've come out of it amazingly because, you know, sometimes you'll go into a Rumble and like you think back to the dark times of Ronda and Brock winning, and they go, right, well, they're in the 2 world title matches. We'll see them in late March probably, and then everything else just has to kind of come together. Now it's what is everyone still doing?
Yeah, the Punk, just quickly on the Punk favour, it was one of the things I first thought of because it was impossible to get your head around the idea that Punk could leverage Paul Heyman to get Roman Reigns out of the way for a title shot. But Jey Uso there's always been that tightrope where he's kind of been like, finally his own man, but will he one day revert to being a patsy again for the bloodline? Will there be that little voice inside him that he talks about in his own promos when he's having these big matches where he fails and he falls short, that gets the better of him, and like Punk can play the devil on anybody's shoulder and he kind of worms his way in. And then Jey Uso in the press conference name checks Gunther, and in a way, and like unpredictable is the word, but I think one of the ways in which it was unpredictable is because the Saturday Night's Main Event match was used as the ultimate sort of diversionary tactic.
Yes.
You watch that match and then you think, well, that's Jey Uso done forever at that level. We can start speculating on an Usos tag match or just Jey Uso living in the mid-card forever. And he might still do this. He might not win at WrestleMania, but the fact that seems like the match, the more you thought about it was like, well, this is simultaneously just an unpredictable and interesting direction nobody would have called, and allows the sort of political gamesmanship to continue. I don't want to be cynical about this because I love Jey Uso and I'm very happy he won the match. However, there is a certain, I put this online, there is a certain irony to main event Jey Uso punching his ticket to the main event of WrestleMania and going
He's going on first. He's going on first. He's going on first on night two.
Like, it feels like that, and that's the one thing where you're like, not kicking yourself, but the one thing where you're thinking, like, perhaps we should have been, we talked about Seth, I think. We should have been looking at the Gunther title match more than the Cody one because of how there's so many machinations around the Cody Rhodes title and that end of the card rather than Gunther's, where you just feel if anyone was willing to be the champion and try and steal the show from elsewhere on the card, it's Gunther. And that's what he'll try and do. And that's where Jey Uso can maybe fit. And I expect that to go ahead. Like, we can be surprised again. We were surprised with the winner, but I fully expect Jey Uso to challenge Gunther. I would quite like Cody to welcome Jey Uso's challenge, to be his, I'm your friend, we've been tag team champions. Like, it was you that was kind of ultimately the reason why I was prepared to kind of step into your world, to be part of the bloodline. You're, if anything, the glue of all of this. Punk likes you know, the Jey Uso raw.
I'm kind of a bell end now after what I did to Kevin Owens.
I cannot wait to get into that. But like, there's almost like a nice element of Cody doing the hair ruffler to Jey Uso and being like, not today, actually, mate. I've got
Gunther being like, yeah, go and choose him. We know what happens when you face me.
He beat me well. My confidence had never been lower, and it took everything I had to fire my way back into life for the Royal Rumble. I'm not going to let that happen again. Like, I'll beat him, and I'll beat him at WrestleMania. That's where I know he's vulnerable, and that's where I know I can use this newfound confidence. Like, I've said it all along, from the move to Raw onwards, Jey Uso has been one of the more fascinating and interesting WWE characters maybe ever, because he does stink in a lot of his big singles matches in the fiction and in reality, right? Yeah. So, like, the bad matches often back up the fiction of Jey Uso, a person trying to overcome years of having the thumb on his head from Roman Reigns to find his own voice, to find separation from being not just a tag team partner, but a twin, all of this sort of stuff. The reality has done too good a job of backing up the fiction of Jey Uso, but I think it powers a WrestleMania story with him and Gunther. I really do.
It's funny that people, like at Saturday Night's Main, like they've watched, Jey Uso wins, right? And it's not as unpredictable, I think, as some people are making out. Yes, it's a surprise considering the other names in the Rumble, but like you look at the reactions and you look at the merch sales and you think, well, oh yeah, popular guys should get the main event or get the title shot at WrestleMania or whatever. But it is funny that WWE have gone, you know, the guy who had the worst WrestleMania match of the last decade, let's put him in the world title match at WrestleMania next year. And then also the whole thing of, he's hardly got any moves. I think I finally did a Poison Rana.
Yeah, it's funny. They're talking about the Poison Rana. They're talking, and I know it's bubble stuff. in the same kind of tone as well. You still got it. It's like when the celebrity does a destroyer.
Yeah.
It's like a little shortcut code, meaning, you can go. It's Jey Uso. He's like one of the most decorated wrestlers in the history of the biggest company of all time. I do not know what the hell's going on. I don't know where to start with my analysis, whether to approach it from the creative, which is odd in itself, or to get a little bit cynical and conspiratorial about the creative.
It's all of it, I think.
It's so weird, man. It's so I don't know where to begin. I can't possibly speak with any authority, if you believe I can in the first place. Jesus, I do not know where to start. It is so odd. It is so weird that I could be cynical and paranoid. So much so that I like to do a bit where we don't do bits on this podcast, but if we did, I would do a bit where I hold my hands up and say, I was wrong there. I was too cynical, and it's a personality flaw of mine, and I own up to it. There's a part of me that thinks, right, and I'm not saying I get everything right. I'm not one of those horrible losers, but I always remember, right, in the build to All Out 2022, Punk has got a glint in his eye, and he does that face-to-face with Jon Moxley. And yes, he can, even when he's playing babyface, he's always got that edge where he's like really not likable at all. But I just had this feeling about Punk before he dropped the line about Hangman Page of there's something wrong with you. There's something agitating you. And lo and behold, Brawl Out happened. And as soon as it dropped, I wasn't really shocked. It made some kind of terrible sense that something like that would happen from what I gauged from Punk's behavior. I've got a little bit of that alarm going off of something's weird here. Something is weird. I don't know if it's The Rock not turning up and them sort of panicking, or if certain wrestlers have noped certain developments, or what's going on. It's just so odd, even for your B-level world title, to rematch Saturday night's main event TV match in January for a world title match at WrestleMania. It's just
so it had a clean result.
Yeah, it's so...
I mean, a 4.5-star match, to be absolutely fair.
Fair.
It's weird. Like, I don't know if all of that was to inform. I don't know if that match existed for this exact reason, to inform this. Heads blown off, can't believe it. Paul Levesque's done something interesting. Unbelievable turn of events that is. I will say that this is, I'm really sort of energized by it all. And when we speak about it in depth on the Rumble preview, which you should be able to get almost as soon after you listen to this, I think I'm broadly very positive about the whole thing. Very, very energized by this direction.
I couldn't believe The Rock wasn't there. It was 20 plus 11.
20 plus 12.
It was 20 plus 12, 2012. That's when he made his in-ring singles return.
All the pieces fit.
After a tag.
20 plus 65, wasn't it?
After a tag. So he did his tag with Cena against Awesome Truth, and then he did a tag with Roman against Cody and Seth. So you're thinking, the dots all make sense, don't they, Wilbourn?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Wait a minute, Valentine's Day. Friday, that's going to be 20 plus 24.
Yes.
Which was the year he returned to the ring.
Yes.
And the night before Vengeance Day, where his daughter, of course, is the general manager. She's not the final boss. He's the final boss. So it's probably there, isn't it? It's probably Vengeance Day.
Honestly, all the pieces matter.
Before we get more into Jey and Charlotte, I do want to take a slight diversion and talk about Drew McIntyre, because all the talk, aside from Jey and Charlotte on Sunday, was about Drew. Yeah. Furious. There was sort of a messed up spot in the match, basically, where he's meant to try and eliminate Jey, but at the last second, Damian Priest kind of grabs him by the collar and chucks him out. But they bump it into LA Knight and Logan Paul, who are fighting. Apparently that spot was meant to happen earlier. Whatever. I don't know the permutations. We'll never know the permutations of that. But he's pissed off not just at that spot getting screwed up and people getting their stuff in, as people say, but also what he considers a nothing match with Damian Priest at WrestleMania.
I'm sort of all over the shop on this one. I watched it back a few times.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. Having read that,
the ghosts.
It was crazy that like that outlet got like a Drew McIntyre story, but like never come out. But like after several pay-per-views and things don't go his way. Like I watched it back and I couldn't. It's really hard to fling yourself over the top rope by accident. And I watched it and I don't know. I'm always of the opinion everything's a work until you conclusively shown otherwise. But like, so I'm watching. Well, fine. I guess it's just true, and he really didn't mean to fly over 6-7 foot height.
I don't think that was
but
the issue. I think that was the planned spot, but it just looked clunky.
Yeah,
there's a reason why they are draped in the corner doing nothing.
In the moment, when I was watching live, I accepted it as an elimination, but a little bit of me was like, I thought there was more to this. He genuine shock in his eyes. Damien Priest took a minute to react, and that's always the thing with WWE where they know where the cameras are and they know when they're supposed to be doing their thing. And if you look back at Priest's face, it's very much, yeah, I eliminated. That pregnant pause feels like it goes on a lifetime.
I did it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I like about this. I like any wrestler who, Sidg, what might they want in that locker room that not enough wrestlers do?
Who wants it? Who f***ing wants it?
I like any wrestler that lives their life like that because there's probably
Who
not...
says I'll have some?
Yeah, there's not enough of it.
I'll have some.
I'll take as much as you can give us. There's not enough of it in wrestling now. This is the time of year to behave like that.
Yeah.
As a fan, I can't sit on a podcast and be like, yeah, come on, WWE, what are we doing? We all said it. We're like, you're putting your WrestleMania card together, you're imagining the names on the whiteboard, you've got Shane McMahon at the top and then everybody else underneath. And it's like, I just don't see the Drew McIntyre match. That's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. People move up and down the card. There's always odd wrestlers out. It's never fair. Like I'm crying for Bianca Belair more than I'm crying for Drew McIntyre, as one example, and there are plenty others, but that's just my personal preference on this. I'll back him behaving like this. I'll back him wanting his spot, and he sees the other political machinations going on at the top of the card. He must see, we'll get onto it, Seth Rollins working as hard as he possibly can to turn a singles match into a triple threat, and he's thinking, well, I just potentially lost my opportunity to do just that, and now I'm stuck with this. And Damien Priest has a right to feel aggrieved if he's like, oh, so I'm the one you're stuck with, am I? Because he too will be in a position where he's wanting
They've
to
got
stop
history,
spot.
let's not forget. It's not just him chucking out the Rumble, it's War Games and obviously the cash-in at WrestleMania last year.
WrestleMania law. Like, I can see why this match would be on the card. I just think this is the time where you want to be spoken of like a main eventer, and it's in the post-elimination chamber run where you realise where the other stuff starts to shake, the singles, the tags, the multi-mans, whatever. At this time of year, in the immediate aftermath of the Rumble, you want to be spoken of in world title conversations, and he already feels like that is slipping away from him. So from a professional and competitive point of view, I completely get it.
Yeah. The thing about Drew McIntyre, right, is, are you great? I don't think he's great. But it's a very, very exclusive club. And yes, I'm with Hamflett. Like, the more wrestlers who go on like they are worthy of it, that's good. But at the same time, is it also a little bit delusional? Look, here's the thing about this competitive spirit that Drew McIntyre is embodying and just trying to convince himself maybe or everybody else that he's worth it. One of the great reasons why this exists is if you look at WrestleMania 23, Batista and The Undertaker are told, yeah, just going fourth or whatever it is, third or fourth. You're not the main event. That's Shawn and Cena. And they just together went, what? F you. We'll go. Because did any fan really think, that match is going to be the main event or that should be the main event? You see it before that match actually happens, and it's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches. It's just so awesome, just such a prize fight. Bomb fest. It looks like everything's gonna just implode. It's an awesome, lean, not an ounce of fat on it match. It's so great. I was expecting to be bored to tears with a methodically paced match. I thought it was just
the start of their renaissances at the same time.
Yeah,
neither of them were coming in from good
That's
runs.
the thing. It's not just the dynamic that worried me. It was Batista looked like he was finished.
Yep.
The Undertaker,
had the thing with Shawn, but it was like that's probably Shawn.
Yeah.
Pulling up trees with Heidenreich or anything.
You know what I mean? The good thing about that energy that Drew McIntyre has got in him is that I can yield moments like that just on total defined energy. Is it not a better idea for him to go, right, you and me, Damien, we'll just absolutely kill each other and have this awesome match? Is he in danger of having that sense of delusion define him? I will say, right, this is, if it's a work, I don't think it is. It's one of the more believable works. I'm less inclined to be work, even though it is pro wrestling, because if you become that, it's all a work, you think that Tony Schiavone versus Chris Charlton's going to headline Forbidden Door. I don't think that's the case necessarily. I think some things in wrestling are actually as they appear to be at face value. Drew, it's good. You will not reason with someone like that. But he's probably better off. Okay, if it's Damian Priest this year, it's Damian Priest this year. I mean, it's Roman, Cena, Cody, Punk. You're not in that club. You are not in that club. You're just not. It's deluded, I think, to think otherwise. If you blow people away with of all people, Damian Priest, next year you're getting that conversation. If it is a work, it's an easier one to buy because this is his character that he's playing on TV. Aggrieved, I deserve more. It fits into it, and there's a lot of the real Drew in these storylines. He's always thought he was the absolute man. Going back to there's a spot when he's in 3MB, does something awesome, kips up and says, "Who thinks I'm not good enough for Raw? Are you kidding?" He's always had this, so it doesn't surprise me that he's going on like this. Not everyone's great. I don't think Drew's great, but go on, prove it then.
I agree. Like you say,
it's your job.
If you take this match away, which, like I say, has history, and nothing against Damian Priest and all this.
I mean, he's automatically tarred. Not that it's sorry to step on your dick, right? I didn't have the highest opinion of Damian Priest. There was at least one incredibly awkward moment in every world title match he was in last year. If you look, it was very much the belt trying to make the guy. Didn't work. Yes, the Balor match was okay at the end of Raw last year, but he didn't have the stuff to be one of the first names on the team sheet, right?
It's a demotion, this SmackDown thing.
Of course it is.
Like Raw's Raw now.
Yeah, they've tried. It didn't work. These things happen, So it's not as if I had a particularly high opinion of Damian Priest, who I've always considered an office favourite who can sometimes do something all right. I think even less of him now after the way Drew's gone on. Yeah. And if it is a full shoot, it just makes Priest look like even more of a geek.
It's funny considering.
So it's not cool. It's funny. It's funny. Let's not pretend it isn't funny. But also, it's just not cool.
There's a certain irony to Drew having this specific complaint, having had the feud he's had last year with CM Punk, because it kind of feels like Damian Priest is his Miz.
Yeah.
And Punk is like saying, how's this guy getting opportunities in the Miz? And then he's saying, I do this all year long and I'm the best at it. And then Dwayne strolls in and gets my WrestleMania main event. Drew has now fallen into that slot, having worked with CM Punk. Like a CM Punk or a Roman Reigns does this schedule they do, and where's my WrestleMania main event? Because I'm there every week. There's a cycle to that, and he must think, well, it's come good for Punk eventually. It should come good for me too, and sooner. Seth Rollins, I imagine, lives a certain version of that life as well. This is what that WrestleMania main event does to people in the fiction and as a shoot as well.
One more thing. If you're Drew, right, and you're feeling aggrieved because you had what was widely received as the program of the year, Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, and you're thinking, right, okay, well, I was part of that. He held his end on the microphone, all the rest of it, that these wrestlers sort of cling to. Has Drew McIntyre ever worked a program as good as that in his entire career? Answer, no. That was his highlight. That was his career highlight. Would it crack CM Punk's top 5 programs? I don't think so. The MGF one certainly clears it. In terms of storytelling and how to, like the Raven one, in ring. I think the Bryan one and the Joe ones clear it. CM Punk, I have PDS. I have Punk derangement syndrome. I feel like I'm quite qualified to not be biased about this, particularly when I'm putting over CM Punk. Yeah. This is what CM Punk does. I might resent him for certain things, but CM Punk is CM Punk and is allowed to be CM Punk because, as a matter of course, he works the Drew McIntyre program pretty much his entire career. If you go bang, 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 bang. Drew McIntyre has had his moment in the Punk program. Look, go and work Damian Priest, and if it's much better than people think, then maybe you could be in the conversation of a Cody where you elevate things to your level and you don't level up.
Yep.
Go and work Priest and stop bitching about it, basically. I'm usually on the side of the wrestlers with a bit of ambition who try and make things interesting, be a disruptor. I don't think he's got the credibility to say that. No, I should be on the first name on the team sheet. You're not that good yet, and maybe you never will be at this age.
You make a good point there, Sidg, as well. Like if they WWE, for example, hear this and go, okay, you don't want to work Damian Priest, that's fine. We'll do Priest versus whoever at WrestleMania. like, what's the other match? Because, like you say, he's not doing the world title stuff. That's straight out. Roman, Punk, Cena, Seth, arguably, all out of the picture there. So what else is he doing? Bron Breakker? Like, that's basically outside of that, and that's a mid-card match in terms of titles and what have you. Would he see that as a demotion? Like, I agree. Unless you're just going to randomly pull out a Legends match, for example, I don't think it gets any better for this WrestleMania for Drew, unfortunately.
And that's sometimes how it shakes out as well. It doesn't rule out anything for next year or the following. You know, like, and he would think that because he's like, well, you say that, and I've just had the program of the year, and it's not put me any further forward. But like if you think about it's like what's he got else on the go at the moment? Like Karrion Kross was probably the one that texted him. Like, we're all into Karrion Kross.
It's not bad, actually.
That's a nice bit of lore. If you presented Drew McIntyre with Karrion Kross, it's going to be an identical.
Karrion Kross's influence on Sami Zayn.
Well, indeed.
Watching that.
Well, indeed. Like, but there's the identical response. Like, I'm above it. I'm better than it. We know that he was the one that campaigned to kick out for the first time ever Baron Corbin's End of Days because he thought that was a fluffy nothing WrestleMania match for him. It was like, well, so I'm having that. I'm taking that. And nobody remembers the kick out, let alone the match, let alone the foo-head, right?
Cut the ropes at the end, though.
I'm sure did.
Everyone remembers that.
Sure cut the ropes with his big sword. The pyro enough, so we know it definitely cut them.
That's what happens when you cut ropes, mate.
Yeah. That's a different but same attitude he's taking to a match that he feels is beneath him on a stage like this. But he's getting the matches. I'm with you, Sidg. It feels awkward saying appreciate what you've got, but he is considered in that lineup of people that get something, and that's something.
It's weird. Like, it's so very layered, and I think it's fascinating to talk about. I don't really have much sympathy with Drew and Seth because I ultimately think that they can plug into certain things and be valuable and never want to see them in the leading man of their film.
Valuable's the word, though.
Valuable.
That is important.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing you can get. There's so many more Drews and Seths than there are Codys and Punks, you know?
Yes.
Maybe at the same time I'm thinking, just accept your lot and make the best of it and show, don't tell. Drew McIntyre's got that. I'm telling you, show me. You show me against Punk, but Punk is Punk and everything he does is interesting and really good because you see I'm goddamn Punk. Show me against Damian Priest that you can level up and you can drag things to your level and you're not the guy who's leveling up here. And at the same time, I'm thinking, if you're Seth and Drew, you're probably thinking, God damn it, we ate so much utter shit under those Vince years. Some of the worst creative.
Yeah.
They tried to kill us, and then we've emerged from that period with a lot of like credit in that bank with the audience. We've reached peaks that we didn't think we would as singles. No one else expected of us. Oh, and then Cody gets signed from AEW and Punk gets signed from AEW and they get to the top of the card. I understand why you're aggrieved, but it's a megastar business and he simply aren't megastars. And there are megastar slots that you're not getting. It's tough titties.
It is a bit like
show me if you're that good. Show me.
It's a bit like the player who's, you know, this is maybe a real backhanded compliment because he's better than this, but like the player who plays really well for the Premier League team when they're sort of mid-table and gets them into those European spots, and now they're in the Champions League. They've signed Lionel Messi. Well, I'm afraid you're not starting ahead of him, mate. I don't care what you've done in the build to this.
Yeah, it's not nice, but neither's wrestling.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Let's circle back and talk about the Rumble winners, though. Jey Uso and Charlotte Flair, of course. Their road to WrestleMania begins tonight with them set to appear on the show. One would assume Jey opens with that sort of entrance.
I would imagine so, especially because you don't know if he's going to see it through. Like, if it is Gunther, it's unpredictable all over again because you could absolutely put Gunther over at WrestleMania in a match that's probably not going to close one of the nights. Just as much as you could justify giving Jey Uso this incredible moment. And again, it would be more as almost a lifetime achievement award as it is his singles recognition, because you can't see him as this long-standing world champion, but I would quite like to see the moment nonetheless. So you might as well luxuriate in what you've done here with Jey Uso. Like, this is,
and just confirm that this is the shot he's calling, because he said it on the press conference, but as always,
of course,
we know all about that. But yeah,
if this is the peak, and it could prove to be, we'll see, I guess. Like, celebrate the peak, luxuriate in the peak. Jey Uso's given a lot of people, myself included, when you're there live, one of your like peak wrestling live experiences, the entrances are for real, no matter what happens when the bell rings, and often that's not a lot. Like, and there's going to be a few of those between now and WrestleMania where you have this opportunity to not just talk about this guy that makes people say yeet in the building, but talk about a Royal Rumble winner, a guy that continues to like push back from adversity and push back the criticisms against him. As I say, the way that you can blend reality and fiction with Jey Uso is a bit of a gift creatively, especially up against a Gunther, and just an unstoppable, unbeatable Gunther, and with the overlapping that I fully expect now with Sami Zayn. More excellent booking at the weekend for that character. Maybe start building in a bit of a divide between those two because of all the people that have on Raw. I think a bunch of people will just be earnestly happy for a Jey Uso. He's that guy now in the locker room that you can have plenty of baby faces say, nice one, mate. And then of all the people who should be thrilled for him, the one guy that was his one supporter once upon a time on Raw is now going to be like, yeah, nice one, mate. Yeah, you kick me out. Yeah, that, because it's actually his resentment towards Cody Rhodes.
You know, the Steve Bruce. You're right.
Sami Zayn's resentment towards Cody Rhodes is going to be misplaced and directed at Jey Uso because he eliminated him, and Sami Zayn is carrying a bit of bitterness for the first time, you know, and just for a month, maybe 2 months, but it's nice.
Yeah, I don't keep meaning to say, don't listen to this, listen to the Rumble review, but I'm really excited about the Rumble review, and I'll go into his sort of credentials for the role of being a Rumble winner and whether I think the booking was good. Spoiler, I think I kind of do. In terms of what you do with the booking here, especially when we've got a while left, it's going to be Gunther. That's the match. I would have Gunther laugh in his face. Yeah. I'd have Gunther laugh in his face and like just I can put my feet up there. I can just really take the piss and drive that emotional investment, which already exists, and ramp it up and up and up. I'm going to say one thing in case I forget on the Rumble review. I would carve open a massive, massive gash in Jey Uso's forehead at WrestleMania. Of course I would.
I love that booking.
Yeah, you just add an extra 2 stars onto the match and you just compensate for what he can't do, which is a lot, instantly. Have him Muta scale Jey Uso. Do the same, do this like,
the white shirt on as well.
Yeah.
The white.
You do so much heavy, like blood, man. Blood's awesome. Blood is awesome.
I really like that. But the blood, obviously, but I also really like the booking of Gunther being like, hey.
Wear a white t-shirt, wear the t-shirt, that yeet white t-shirt, cover it in blood, and you've made the match then.
Yeah. I love Gunther.
And then he can almost compensate for the spears don't look great. Well, it's because he's lost loads of blood. Inverted commas.
I really like the idea though of Gunther being like, oof, Jey Uso at WrestleMania. Well, I better prepare for that.
Scared.
And what better way to prepare than face? And this is dangerous on the road to WrestleMania, but your brother, I'm gonna have to face your brother. I mean, who better to exemplify what I've got to waiting for me at WrestleMania? I love that. I really like that as an idea. I really liked also the head loss from people online of a few hours before. Too predictable. Charlotte Flair. And then
like Charlotte
Uso
wins.
wins.
Predictable, yes.
Jey Uso wins, and they're like, well, not unpredictable like that, but let's talk about Charlotte Flair because we haven't spoken about her at all, and she is set to appear tonight. It feels like you could do Rhea Ripley. They've got a great deal of history, and they've put on phenomenal matches together, and obviously she's appearing on Raw tonight, but the go-to movie, surely, Tiffany Stratton.
It is, and from everything we've heard, Charlotte Flair's desire to be the babyface means that it's got to be Tiffany because you're asking questions. Well, you're not asking questions of your audience because you're not asking questions at all because they like booing Charlotte Flair. You're simply asking too many questions creatively if you're trying to be
she's like, come on! And like, boo, in the match.
Like, Rhea Ripley's the babyface if those two have a match. Yeah. As much as I would love that rematch, and they've got it in the chamber down the line, it's Tiffany Stratton. And again, that's all right because if you've got 2 set world title matches now, you've got the Elimination Chamber to set up the other ones, and the peak drama in those matches that they're for the shots rather than for the belts. Sometimes they have one is for a shot, one is for a title. I prefer this way of doing things. I prefer both those matches. It's a second Royal Rumble, effectively, because it's just your last 6 or the qualifiers, however they do it. I fully expect this to be Route 1. Charlotte Flair comes back, says she's returned to the throne. Nobody should have doubted me just because I've taken a year off. It doesn't mean that I wasn't the queen of all this in the decade before that. Tiffany Stratton's only the champion because I'm not here. Everybody's only the champion because I'm not here. There was other people you were expecting to come back. Well, once they knew I was on the card, they decided not to because that's a nice little dig at someone like a Becky Lynch who you can build stuff. Like, she can say as much about the lack of competitiveness in that match that benefits her, as if to say, like, I announced myself for it, so I'm surprised 29 other people even wanted to enter, all that kind of stuff. She's not going to get a lot of cheers for that kind of arrogance, but she don't care. She doesn't give a damn.
She doesn't give a good goddamn.
The challenge is to get Tiffany Stratton over as somebody that can credibly beat her. I like Tiffany Stratton a lot.
It's going to be a phenomenal match, I think, that's over WrestleMania weekend.
I think the match, like, it's one of the ones I'm going to be like Lenny from The Simpsons leaning in on. I don't know the quality, but
it's going to be amazing.
I expect a lot from it because of Charlotte Flair on those stages and like Tiffany Stratton's relatively proven ability to like level up to her opponent as well. She looks already confident as the champion, but I think I need a bit more from her between now and WrestleMania for it to not feel like open and shut on the night that Charlotte wins.
Yeah, I think Charlotte could even allude to like, oh, well, when Rhea came up from NXT and everyone thought, well, she's made, and then I came along and destroyed her. Is there history there?
Well, is there a wrestler that batters Charlotte in the next couple of weeks that keeps her busy before Tiffany Stratton? Like, is there anyone that you can imagine her selling for in a way that's convincing enough? Like, I will say her selling, sorry to jump in the Rumble thing. Her
another queen that was in the Rumble.
Yeah. Her selling of the knee was good in the Rumble. That makes you think, well, she's like put the jewels on the brace. She wants you to look at it. There it is. There's the target. That gives anybody a free hit now against Charlotte Flair. You can get a month of she's still like got a dodgy knee out of somebody on the roster.
Especially if someone hits an annihilator on it.
Yeah. Annihilator.
Yeah, you're always trying to make Nia Jax happen somewhere.
Love her.
PFC or something in a 3
like 9 eliminations, didn't she?
Yeah.
She almost won.
Look, our listeners, if you've been with us a long time, you know what I'm like, okay? So if you want earnest, vaguely optimistic analysis about what Charlotte Flair does next, listen to these two. I want it to be a complete arsehole on TV, masquerading as a babyface. I have missed, like, WWE's too competent and too coherent, and this sort of civil war stuff that's happening amongst the fan base, just put some blood in my cock, you know? I want Charlotte Flair. What I like about Charlotte Flair, earnestly, is that she phones it in on TV. She'll do these lucha bumps in TV matches when she's meant to be doing a flatback because she couldn't give a good goddamn. And then she's like an absolute warlord in WrestleMania matches. I get the best of both worlds with Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
Bit of Schadenfreude, I hate her energy. She's a bit of a disruptor. People don't like her. I like when things get aggy.
That means
and then she gives us great, absolutely great, unvarnished, like sweat-drenched wars in the ring when she can be asked. I think she's a gift to pro wrestling, and I think more people should appreciate that.
But that means
Where's her respect?
Where is Charlotte Flair's respect? She's funny and she's awesome. Inadvertently funny, a complete dickhead, transparent political operator, and she shows you why she can get away with it where it matters and when I want to actually watch a good match.
She returned on Saturday. You know what else could return tonight? Of course.
Oh, I know.
The best catchphrase in all of wrestling.
I won the Rumble.
Better than anything The Rock ever did.
Differently, like, you know, men's and women's, you know.
We might have even talked about this. You've unlocked why Charlotte and I on TV was a total shoot because Nia's the literal opposite. She doesn't give a damn on telly, and then the pay-per-views. Sorry, and then the pay-per-views come along and decide she's forgotten how to wrestle.
So they just didn't know what to do.
Charlotte Flair's like, what do we do on Raw? Oh, just punch each other in the face.
I missed that, man. I missed that. Charlotte Flair brings an energy. This is an energy around WWE right now that I've missed, and I feel like it's coming back. Maybe the business could be saved after all.
Triple H has never booked her for a long period outside of NXT.
Yeah,
like that's never happened yet. So I'm interested. Like again, those kind of like those.
I mean,
classes.
she's a woman, so it's probably going to suck because Triple H is not very good at booking women's wrestling.
He is not.
We'll talk more about that on the Rumble review later, but in WWE's lexicon, it's in the rear view now. Now we're looking ahead to the Elimination Chamber, and the qualifiers start tonight. We know one person who's already in the Elimination Chamber. That is John Cena, who cut a promo on the press conference basically saying, yeah, I'm in. But that leaves 5 or 6, depending on which chamber you're referring to, spots. Actually, 6 you could still apply to the men's one because they had that one with 7 blokes in.
They sure did.
1 year. But I don't know. They had that system for a while, which I know you quite enjoyed, of like the final 6 went into it that didn't win, obviously. Now they're doing qualifiers, but that could also apply. You look at the men's.
Yeah.
The final 5, not including John Cena and Jey Uso, of course, would be.
Well, John Cena is one.
Yes.
So there's your first one.
Yeah, but he's already in. Sorry, but if you're adding 5 more men to it, the other 5 would be Logan Paul, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and AJ Styles.
I mean,
so them in qualifiers against, I don't know, the next 5 or just random?
Yeah, it's weird to think of the likes of Roman Reigns and CM Punk working qualifiers for the Chamber. But if that's what we're doing, I guess that's what we're doing. Like, yes, short answer, yes, you could absolutely line those up and there's your Chamber. I would like it to feel high stakes. I don't want to do one of these kind of like novelty things where there's 2 guys in there that aren't going to win, but they're going to do a fun spot. And, you know, like, who would it be back in the day? Like, throwing Shelton Benjamin in a Money in the Bank match.
Yeah.
Never going to win it, but he always does a cool ladder spot. I don't really need that. Like, last year, it was the women's one that was the best example of it, because they had that shot of all the runners up on the floor because they were eliminated one after another, and then you looked at the Chamber, it's like, they've all ended up there. Yeah. That's a nice bit of booking. And those names you list, including John Cena. I would quite like it if there was a couple of qualifiers and then Roman Reigns just declared, because he's Roman Reigns and like he's not
but then
the Chamber.
Politically, well, if Roman declares, I can declare I'm CM Punk.
Yeah. Well, Punk's favour could be this one last shot at a WrestleMania event in the Chamber or something like that. But yeah, I go big. I have a strong suspicion that the title match will be Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes, and that leaves basically the rest of your main event slate, maybe inclusive of Kevin Owens, unless he's selling the injuries, which I would, but you could throw Kevin Owens in as your Chamber guys. That last like crop of stars would be good enough for me.
I'm going to say something. I might repeat myself on the Raw review, but I want to say it because I've got this. I should write things down and make notes, right? If CM Punk, I wonder when they told Jey Uso and then, ergo everyone who's winning the Rumble, because if CM Punk knew he wasn't winning the Rumble when he was cutting those promos over the last few weeks, what a worker.
Yeah.
Even better than I
had to know
thought.
by Friday. The Logan Paul line.
Yeah, that's a thing.
He had to know by then that was the spot, thing, let alone that, like...
If this has been like a big plan for a few weeks and they've clued in the top guys, so this is what you're doing at WrestleMania, obviously, in order to get here, you know what you're not winning. And if he's known and he's doing all... When he's in that Redmond position and he's cutting... If he knew then, I'm not winning the Rumble, but my job is to tell you that I think I'm going to or not... Well, he's even better than I thought, and I don't even like him.
The annual tradition. Punk and Cody, can you sell like 4 pay-per-views, please? Got it, boss.
Yeah.
Is that like going to be a January thing now on every go-home Raw?
Well, hopefully it's the bloody main event at some point. I need to see it.
So is it Punk Roman night 1 main event for you right now? You say Gunther, obviously.
That's today. Ask me tomorrow. That's what's great about this time of year. But yeah, I immediately felt before, and I will give him credit, Seth Rollins tried his hardest to work his way into it. Yeah, that's pretty great when like Roman and Punk have that like stare down and whatever this favour is, and Punk's relationship with Paul Heyman, everything from Survivor Series is pointed towards Punk thinking, I'll have a bit of Roman Reigns actually, and he knows it's big enough. He knows that match he's lived it. Sometimes a match is bigger than the world title, and it's about time I was in that match rather than the world title one.
Could add the Rock to it and have him eliminate Punk early and then just have the singles match, as Punk alluded to many, many moons ago, of course.
That way everybody gets what they want.
Everyone gets his main event. What's the problem?
Yeah. There's surely no issues then.
Elimination, yeah.
What if those 3 end up in a match, but then The Rock adds himself to a 4-way?
Hate it, could see it. Like,
would love it.
On the go home.
I don't want it.
I do.
Yeah, I'll say Punk Roman now, but
I'll have some of that, yeah.
I'll have some.
Because Punk Roman would be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd just be massive.
But yeah, in terms of qualifiers, yeah, those names, along with a Sami Zayn, for example, being thrown in there, of course. Fighting your Drews and what have you, and your Damian Priest. You could have them fighting your Drews and Priest for the qualifiers, I suppose.
Sami should lose a qualifier to Seth.
Okay.
Like, he booted him in the Rumble in that, like, a nice payoff to the...
Alternatively, Seth just doesn't have anything to do.
It's been an accident. It's been an accident.
Night off.
Like,
just have a little time away.
You could be the host.
Big entrance, flashy suits. Whoa.
You love your costume changes, you.
I know you're taking the piss. I love that.
We've got a big job for you at WrestleMania 41. You're hosting.
Imagine if that's given to Drew, as like, but he gets the priest match taken off him, and it's punishment. Well, host, get a flashy suit. Well, you kill it if you want. Mr. Scotland.
We're going to make you a tartan roulette wheel just for you.
The Drewlette wheel.
Drew and Seth as co-hosts.
Night 1 and night 2. Night 1, night Drew.
And they cannot lose their little match impromptu to a celebrity.
Can they coexist? As
It writes itself, guys.
As
We've done it.
hosts.
That's
We've done it.
what yous are there for.
Second host.
That's what yous are there for.
In terms of the women's elimination chamber, it's not quite as simple, is it? Because you look at the
He's got no
last.
stars. He's proven that by a terrible Royal Rumble. It was all of his chickens coming home to roost, like it does every year.
If you did the last 6 of the women's Royal Rumble just straight into the elimination chamber, I don't know they've got qualifiers, but what have you? It would be Roxanne Perez, Nia Jax, Nikki Bella, Bayley, Julia, and Liv Morgan. No Bianca Belair, she would just miss out. But I think she should be in qualifiers, obviously.
Yeah. I get the Drewlette wheel and spin it and pick 6 names off it and put them in the chamber for all they care about it. The Rumble gave
It's
you...
Io Sky, isn't it?
Well,
Winning it?
only because we've heard her name mentioned. Zero booking. There was zero booking of her in the Rumble as somebody that wanted it.
Hey, she lasted 66 minutes and 45 seconds, mate. And she got
That's longer than good Rumbles.
Criminal.
she
Yeah.
got a whopping 1 elimination.
You got the numbers there. 3
I mean,
over an
come
hour?
on.
3 over the 60-minute mark or 4?
3.
3 Iron Women. You me?
Hang on,
Didn't they do well?
He did well.
just a second. Sorry.
Triple H thought, well, hang on. I got over boring people over 60 minutes. I'm going to get 3 people over at the same time.
3 Iron Women with a combined 4 eliminations.
That is Paul.
Drab crepe. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I'll save my 2-word review of the women's Rumble match. I'll save my 2-word review of the 1 hour and 10 minutes women's Rumble match for later on this afternoon.
I hope Jordynne Grace is on the main roster. I know she was eliminated by Julia, and she worked with so many fun interactions immediately when she arrived in there. But I don't know. Is there going to be a bidding war to try and sign her or something? I'd have her in the chamber, no questions.
Yeah. It was weird, wasn't it? Yeah, the Julia thing felt like some sort of clue, and yet she's massively over, ready to go. Almost don't want to waste your time with her in NXT. A Julia match would be massive. That's not to sort of dig out Julia particularly, but it just feels like if you're not racing straight to that match.
She's done NXT. She's been in the minor leagues
She's
for
had
years
it,
and
yeah,
years
like,
and years.
Get going.
She's always great. Let's get on the friggin' main roster. What are we doing?
One final. So
And I think, do I want her to win the Elimination Chamber, actually? Saying that, Jordynne Grace. Like, if
I'd love that.
I'm backing this Io
not gonna
Sky
happen,
Rhea
yeah.
Ripley.
Not
gonna
thing.
happen.
Honestly, this Io Sky Rhea Ripley, I'm all for it. But I feel like it's a conversation all of us in the bubble have had, and WWE have yet to even speak it into existence. It wasn't like Io Sky was saying, "No, I need to be back in the title match at WrestleMania. I lost last year. I've got so much." We're all saying it.
Yes.
But WWE haven't booked it. So
One final question then, as I mentioned, those 6 names who were the final people in there with Charlotte Flair. Is it time for Roxanne Perez to move to the main roster? A lot of speculation about that today. Runner up in the Royal Rumble. Feels like she's ready. Sidg.
that's what everybody's asking.
More on that and the Royal Rumble review later on today. Rumble review.
You sound like dog, mate.
Do join us for that. Do join us for that one.
An alliterative dog.
Later on today. Let us know your thoughts ahead of Raw, though, in the comments section below, or on X at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow all 3 of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
Follow our brilliant producer Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas.
and you can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. Make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Me and Sidg will be back later on today to review AEW Collision. And once that's out of the way, we can talk about the Rumble. But for now, this has been the Raw preview. Thanks to Hamflett, Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.